present because it. Oh, share screen.
Thanks everyone for your patience while we all get set up.
Are we good, Sarah?
We're good. Wonderful. Okay. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Global Leadership Info Session. We're so excited you're here. This is a fun picture of a recent event that we went to last fall. And you can see Dr. Gleason and myself on the far left of the screen going to the Atlanta United game. And Bryn, you can go to the next slide for me, please. Awesome. So here is our global leadership staff. I'm going to start with some introductions, and then I'm going to let our faculty director, Dr. Gleason, take it away, telling you about himself and the global leadership class. And then I will come back and tell you more about our living learning community. So the global leadership staff we have on the call today is myself, Sarah Thompson, our brand new program advisor, Bryn. Welcome to Bryn. She has been with us for, is it a month now? Almost, no, like 3 weeks. She's been with us for 3 weeks.
3 whole weeks.
She's doing amazing. And then our brand new director of about 6 months, Ashley Toomey Flynn. And then Bryn, next slide. And we've got 2 current students with us today. We've got Brandon, who is our student assistant. He was in global leadership in 2019, fall of 2019. No? Yeah.
2020 to 2021.
2020. Okay, so he was the COVID, like, COVID GL group. And then we've got Kristen on the call, who is a current GL student. Say hi, Kristen.
Hi, just a slight correction. I'm actually in computational media.
Computational media. I'm sorry. I was almost going to message you and update your major. My apologies. Must have been the major you did when you applied to tech. My apologies, Kristen. So we've got Kristen, rising second year in computational media. So these 2 students will be on the call that can answer any of your questions later today. And then next, we've got Dr. Gleason, who is our faculty director of the program, and he teaches in several different departments here at Tech. And the students were just really big fans of Dr. Gleason this semester, so they designed 3 stickers during our global leadership sticker contest that had to relate to either Dr. Gleason or something he talked about in class, and I just really thought it'd be fun to share. So I'm going to pass it on to Dr. Gleason to introduce himself and to tell you more about the class and what he teaches.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm in Starbucks and there's probably some background noise, but hopefully it's working.
Yeah,
so,
we can hear you just fine.
Awesome. I've been at Georgia Tech for 18 years, I guess. I've been at Tech for 18 years. I think that picture was taken about a year after I started, so it's a little outdated. But I'm in mechanical engineering. I'm also in biomedical engineering. I have primary appointments in both, which is kind of weird, but have 2/3 of me is in mechanical engineering and 1/3 of me is in BME. I did my undergrad actually at Florida and graduate school at Texas A&M. So if we're going to talk college football, I'll probably lean towards the Gators and maybe towards the Aggies, but also the Jackets. So talk a little bit about this later, but I've been a Fulbright scholar a couple times in Ethiopia. And, kind of to answer the question of who am I, maybe hit the next slide, Bryn. This is a picture of my wife, and there's a picture of me as well. So I've been married we actually just had our 20th anniversary. We just celebrated our 20th anniversary about I guess over a month now, over a month ago. So that's my wife, and then go to the next slide. And we have 4 children, 2 boys. Actually, they're probably not much younger than you guys. My oldest son is a rising senior. He's going to be a rising senior, and he's a rising junior, my other son. And I've got 2 daughters in middle school. And next slide. And this is a picture of Kennedy, our daughter. This is a picture of her when she was living in an orphanage in Ethiopia. And you guys can read the slides, but we were in the process of adopting her in 2009, and we got a whole bunch of pictures and totally fell in love with her. You can probably see from this picture that she was really malnourished. At 4 months old, she weighed 5 pounds, so she was just really tiny. And before we could bring her home, she passed away. And my wife and I were just totally crushed at the loss of Kennedy. We never got to meet her, hold her, but she was our daughter, and we were just totally in love with her. So maybe going on to the next slide. I just lost the slides. I don't know if you guys did. Oh, there we go. I'm back. We to be honest, we were pretty ignorant about global stuff, about the disparities in health and resources around the world. But we came to find out that Kennedy's story sort of happened all too often. This is from 2010, so the year after we lost Kennedy. The country shaded in black have a child mortality rate of greater than 100 deaths per 1,000 live births, which, to put it another way, in those countries, less than 1 in 10 children live to see their 5th birthday. And these numbers were just totally crazy to my wife and I. And so kind of through Kennedy, it motivated us to sort of engage in these disparities around the world, and these particularly global health disparities, but so maybe go on to the next slide. So this sort of desire to have a global impact on what we do kind of infiltrated our whole lives. This is a nonprofit that my wife and I started shortly after we lost Kennedy. Is still sort of going strong, called Because of Kennedy. We work really with vulnerable families primarily in Ethiopia, and to equip and empower vulnerable families to sort of start and run a locally sustainable business. And while the families are doing that, we provide some support, child development support for their families. But I started to ask a question on the next slide. How can I sort of integrate this desire to have this global impact at the work that I do at Georgia Tech? Back in that time, I taught very mechanics classes. My research program focused on things like vascular disease, which is really important, and we still do. But started asking the question, how can I integrate this in what I teach and what I do at Georgia Tech? And so the first thing I did was I taught a class in biomedical engineering called Global Health and Engineering. I taught this class actually more than 9. My slides weren't updated. Sorry, Sarah. Probably 13 times I think we've taught this. And then one of the big things is actually teaching this class. I started last year as the faculty director, and but over the last 10, 12 years, I've taken dozens of students to Ethiopia. These are all pictures of my students in Ethiopia, and just sort of try to engage students in global things. So maybe the next one. And it also sort of had a big impact on my research program. So on the left is sort of what my lab did at about 10 or 12 years ago, and we launched this whole new sort of arm of my research program aimed at improving really maternal and child health, but health outcomes in low resource settings around the world. So maybe just jump into the next one. So this is a picture that I think will help describe or help me explain what motivates me to teach this class. On the left, this is a picture of me and 4 Georgia Tech students in Mangwangwa, Cameroon. It's a village outside of Bamenda, if any of you are familiar with Cameroon. And this was, we lost Kennedy in 2009. So this was just after we lost Kennedy. And we were working with an organization called Engineers Without Borders, and we were trying to work with this village to bring clean and safe drinking water. And this student, Andrew and Emily are the two in the middle. Those guys are really passionate about impacting the world, and it sort of infiltrated what they did at Georgia Tech through their classwork and through their things like senior design. And after they left Georgia Tech, this is sort of carried on with them. And so the project that they did for their senior design project actually led to a small grant. They went to Chile, tried to get this little startup going. They moved to Nairobi and tried to get this company going. And then this is a picture of me and Andrew 10 years later in Nairobi, where he's still running this company that sort of was born out of the work that he did as a student at Georgia Tech. And that's what really motivates me to teach this class and to engage students in whatever it is that they're passionate about, and how to turn that into something that they can do that has an impact on the things that they're passionate about. So that's why I teach this class. I don't know, do I have another slide, Rin? I'm not sure. One more. Okay, cool. So that's a little bit about what this class is about. So this class, I want to just sort of start that dialogue with what you would do with your life, if there was no constraints. If you could at least forget about money for now, and maybe even forget of whether the job actually exists or not, what would you do with your life? And in our class, we really sort of tailor this around or use as a platform the Sustainable Development Goals, and sort of those are sort of these big challenges that we as a world, as a group of United Nations, decided as sort of the big goals for the next decade and beyond. So that's it. Is that good, Sarah? Yeah, awesome.
That's amazing. Thank you. So I wanted Dr. Gleason to go first before I even explained what everything else that global leadership is about and the living learning communities at Georgia Tech, because Dr. Gleason does have to run soon. So this may feel a bit out of order, like, why are we learning about the global leadership class before we even know what global leadership is? But I really wanted to make sure that we had some time to meet Dr. Gleason and let him introduce himself before he has to run. So thank you so much, Dr. Gleason. So yeah, next slide. And actually we'll advance 2 slides. So let me kind of, just in case anyone is totally new to the concept of living learning communities, let me tell you about what they are at Georgia Tech. So they are for first-year students that join Georgia Tech, and it is a way to help ease the transition from high school to college, to give you an instant group of friends, people you live with and can hang out with, and we foster and facilitate community building opportunities. So yes, there is absolutely first year housing in suite style and dorm style where you'll meet people on your halls. But everything that I know about regular first year residence halls and then the living learning communities is that the first year living learning communities at Tech really help plug you into opportunities at Tech sooner and help you build community among other first years sooner. So that's what overall LLCs are about. And then in particular, global leadership, this is us. So global leadership is a globally and sustainably focused living learning community. So we have a couple main themes. As Dr. Gleason kind of alluded to, we want to help you think about how to use your major, whatever you're studying at Tech. We want to help you and encourage you to think about how can you use your major to help with crime or poverty or gender inequality. All these things that the United Nations has identified as global issues and created the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So I kind of skipped over that slide. I'll rearrange my order later, but there's 17 UN SDGs. Our class goes over them, and then we You'll either do a project or a grant. Dr. Gleason is kind of redesigning the course as we speak. And you'll think of ideas and solve problems, solve global problems in the global leadership class, or you'll hypothesize about how to solve it. You'll pretend you have a $200,000 grant, and what could you do with that money to solve a global problem? That's what you'll do as part of our global leadership class. And then you'll also live with people from all over the country and all over the world. And we will provide opportunities to extracurricular opportunities in and outside the classroom, on campus and off campus. So, oh wait, before we advance the slide, I always like to tell what the pictures are. So the top picture is our Civil Rights Bike Tour of Atlanta. So we do a 3-hour tour all over Atlanta. It's one of my most favorite events. The second picture was a service project that we did called Rise Against Hunger. And we packed 10,000 meals in an hour and a half to be sent to a developing country in need. And then the bottom photo, we tie-dyed t-shirts to go to the Atlanta Pride Parade in the fall. So those are just a couple of the things we did last year. Feel free to write questions and as you think of them in the Q&A box, and then we certainly can pause and answer questions, or we can wait till the end. I can't see how many questions are popping up. If it feels like there's a natural need to break and pause questions, Bryn and Ashley, please let me know, and I can pause and answer questions and get back to it. I'll let Bryn and Ashley let me know, but I'll keep going for now.
Sarah, just real quick, with my screen, I can't see what questions are coming in, so it'll need to be Ashley. All I see is
perfect. Okay, and Ashley let me know that we're good, so I'll keep going. So feel free to write your questions down in the chat, and then we can answer them if it feels like it's pertinent to what I'm talking about. And then we'll definitely answer everything by the end. So global leadership, like I mentioned, helps you plug you into opportunities, connects you to faculty and staff. So you have Dr. Gleason, you have Bryn, you have our director, Ashley, you have former students who can help plug you into opportunities all over Georgia Tech's campus. You'll take classes with people you live with in your residence halls. We also focus on intercultural skill building opportunities. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And as I've also like to mention, we do really awesome, cool, fun events all over Atlanta. So the top photo is we went ice skating last December. The bottom photo is a movie night in the Global Leadership, the middle photo is a movie night in the Global Leadership Lounge. And then the bottom photo is the students at World of Coca-Cola. And again, more photos. I think photos speak for themselves, kind of. So we do mandatory, I mean, I don't know why I'm putting air quotes, but the only mandatory event that we require you to go to is the fall and spring retreats. And the reason we require the fall and spring retreats is to facilitate that community building among your peers. Other than that, we offer several monthly events that are not required, but we certainly hope that you go in order to maximize your, the program fee that you pay to be in this program. So you do pay a little bit extra to be in global leadership, but you get awesome things out of it, like whitewater rafting and on-campus escape rooms and the on-campus challenge course. I can't tell if Kristen is in any of these photos, but she's definitely been in some of our other ones. I see I am going to answer this question really quick. How is global leadership, living, learning, community structured? What does a regular week look like? Great question. I'll go ahead and answer that. And then I'll come back to the other ones. So global leadership has one class in the fall that is held on Tuesday, Thursdays from 3:30 to 4:45. So it's a normal 3 credit hour class that Dr. Gleason teaches. And we are going to have 3 to 5 TAs, former global leadership students, TAs helping out this semester with your team projects. So it's a normal 2-day-a-week class for an hour and 15 minutes. And then beyond that, the week is just whatever events we may have that week or that month. So I hope that answers your question. It's nothing it shouldn't be an extraneous thing on top of your normal everyday life. The class should fit seamlessly into your schedule, but it is a required class to be in our community and to live in our community. I'll come back to the other question, Christian, in a minute. I do see it though. So in global, I'll come back to all of your questions. We will get to all of your questions, but I'll continue with my slide for now. So in global leadership, you do get connected with upper class mentors. So here's a picture of a couple of, our current students who will potentially be your mentors next semester. So Kristen is in that photo with her rat cap on. And your mentors are a point of contact for you, and they can help get you connected to tech and opportunities, and just be an upper class person who's there for you if you need them. You might not need them, but if you do, they are there for you. So next slide. And in global leadership, we also have opportunities where you all can plan events for your peers. So this is another leadership opportunity for you within the living learning community, is to be on what we call a student action team, but it's also kind of had a more loose name of the student event planning committees. So last semester we had a birthday bash committee. They're featured in the top photo. We had a intramural team, and then one of our groups, the culture and festivities group, planned pumpkin carving. I think that was also arts and crafts slash culture and festivities for pumpkin carving. And this is just some of the examples of the student-led events. We had some students who wanted to go to Rent that was done by the drama team on campus, so they did that recently. That's what's coming to mind right now, but these are some of the things that you all can take some ownership of the events that you get to do. Next slide. Intercultural opportunities. I think I saw someone ask a question about study abroad, and it's awesome that Kristen and Brandon are helping out in the chat. Thank you all very much, and Ashley as well. So global leadership is part of the Office of International Education. So all of the living learning communities at Tech are plugged into a specific supporting department, and GL's supporting department is the Office of International Education. So in particular, we are really focused on connecting you to intercultural opportunities and letting you know about study abroad opportunities. So Ashley, the director of OCI, sends out a weekly international education newsletter. We have a program called the International Plan, which we will tell you about later. We have a credential opportunity called Iceberg Intercultural Skills, and we provide lots of workshops for you throughout the year to give you these different intercultural opportunities, whichever one you're interested in and that fits you best. So thank you, Bryn.
I need to jump off, Sarah.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gleason. Nice to see you.
Thank you guys for signing on. Hope to see you in the fall.
So I don't even know where we are in the slideshow. We have 6 more slides. So y'all hang tight, 6 more slides. You're doing great. And then I'll get to your Q&As. You're doing great. So we also, I think I mentioned this earlier, one of my favorite events is the Civil Rights Bike Tour of Atlanta. You get to see, we did a combo civil rights / fall in love with Atlanta bike tour this year. You get to see all the beautiful sights of Atlanta, some historic sites, and just some really cool things that Atlanta has to offer. And I think Kristen also went on this, so I can see her down in the orange on the bottom left, or sorry, bottom right photo. I just love the bike tour, and all of the events we do are just great opportunities to get you off campus if possible and around Atlanta. I think we've got another set of photos in the next one. Yep. We go to Atlanta Hawks games, Atlanta United games, as I mentioned, ice skating at Atlantic Station. So we really do try to get at least once a month, we try to get off campus and doing something fun as a huge community. So imagine going to a Hawks game with 100 of your friends that you live with. It's pretty cool. So Maybe someone asked this in the chat, not sure, but you might be wondering, where will I live? So Global Leadership in particular does live in the Matheson Perry residence halls on East Campus. It is a requirement to live with us. And if you have a roommate who also is applying to tech and wants to live with you, have them join our LLC. You get exclusive upgraded lounges that have coffee, tea, snacks, hot chocolate. We have TVs and projectors. We have whiteboard walls. I think they're featured. Yeah, they are featured in that top left photo. We have games, sports equipment, puzzles. We have 3D printers. We have pianos. And so just lots of different extra resources. Now, every residence hall does have lounges and kitchens, but the living learning community residence halls, especially Global Leadership, we try to give you that little bit of extra touch and fun in your lounge because that's what you pay for. And the requirements. So you got to know what's required to be in our program. So as I mentioned, you have to live in Matheson Perry Residence Hall for your first year, fall and spring. You have to take 1 3-credit-hour class in both the fall and the spring. So 2 classes total, 3 credit hours, fall and spring. That's it. 1 each, 2 total. We do have a $400 per semester student activity fee. And this is with every first year living learning community on Tech's campus has access or is required to pay this extra $400 per semester student activity fee. And then, as I mentioned, the mandatory retreats, we make them mandatory to encourage you to build community with your peers. But we hope and want you to attend all of the events that we plan for you. And I just saw a question about the retreats. What do they usually involve? I mean, they're always fun. So whitewater rafting or the challenge course or escape rooms, something fun, building community with your peers. So Bryn and I are still in the process of planning the retreats for upcoming fall. And then last year we did a cultural dinner where we had, for the spring retreat, we had food from Ethiopian restaurant, an Asian restaurant, a Cuban restaurant, I'm blanking. We had food from 6 different local Atlanta vendors, cultural food from 6 different restaurants. And then we also had a silent disco, which I should have put the silent disco pictures in here. My apologies. But our retreats vary and they're always fun, we hope. And then here's the different ways you can connect with us. We'll put this slide back up here in a minute. But we can advance to the next slide, and then I'm going to answer your questions because I can see they're coming in like wildfire. So, okay, so requires a fee to join. This fee is a financial burden. I totally understand. So thank you for sharing about having a question about the fee. I'll be completely transparent. I have never done a fee waiver for the living learning community for Global Leadership. I just want to be totally transparent that I personally haven't done that and haven't been asked about it. I do think it's something that we can look into. So if you can, Bryn, can you go back to the previous slide for 1 second? The second bullet point on that contact sheet is our email address. If you could send us an email, if you decide to join, if you're a deposited student and you decide to join our living learning community, please reach out via email if the fee is a concern, and we will absolutely look into it. I don't have the answers right now. I just want to be transparent about that. So thank you for asking. How many first-year students typically become a part of Global Leadership? Great question. We have room for 120 students. So most of the LLCs range from 120, that's ours, to about 200. Great questions. Will the retreats be before or after Facet? So Facet happens all summer, and our retreat, that's all of them are great questions, of course. Our retreat will happen during week of welcome. So it's the week before school starts. first year students get an opportunity to move in 1 full week before classes start. And then Georgia Tech hosts tons of events all throughout Week of Welcome. Actually might have Brandon and Kristen talk about Week of Welcome for a second, but our retreat will happen during Week of Welcome. So Brandon, Kristen, y'all want to pop in and tell us about Week of Welcome?
Yeah, so Week of Welcome is typically like, the week when as you're like moving in, and there's definitely like there's like a lot going on Week of Welcome. So there's like a lot of different events you can go to, and a lot of these events you can find on like the GT guidebook app. So definitely I highly suggest that if you can go to Week of Welcome. It's also a great way to get like acclimated with the campus. Yeah, like one event that we had at Week of Welcome was like the lip sync battle thing at like the first center. It was pretty fun.
Thanks, Kristen. Brandon,
Awesome.
anything to add?
Yeah, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Yeah, so definitely everything Kristen said, but definitely Week of Welcome is also a great time. We have organization fairs going on. So if you're looking to join clubs, even start a new club at Georgia Tech, great place to go. We have over 300 clubs. So definitely a great time to do that. Also, Greek Life does participate in their recruitment events during the Week of Welcome, if you so choose, as well. But definitely Week of Welcome is something that I would highly recommend. Definitely de-stresses you instead of having to move in 2 days before classes start. Very nice to move in early. I moved in early. I had a great time, and I met all of my GL friends, even during COVID, during Week of Welcome. And I live with them all still. I'm surprised you can't hear them. They're being relatively quiet, which is a little odd.
Brandon always has the best stories about his roommates. So I'm popping in the chat the First Year Living Learning Communities website. We got a question about how do you sign up and when's the deadline? So you have to apply on your admissions portal. So we have now sent out invitations to students who fit who we thought would be a good fit for our community. So we have sent out automatic invitations to students' accounts, to students' admissions accounts, but you are also welcome to apply on your admissions portal. And the deadline is really just whenever we fill our spots, whenever we fill our 120 spots. So at this point, we now have entered rolling admissions. So when a student applies, if they would be a good fit for our community, we check it daily, we offer them an invitation, and it's a rolling admissions, if that makes sense at this point. So if you have any questions about where to apply, I did pop the Living Learning Community, yep, and then Brandon popped the app in the chat. Yes, perfect. So hope that helps. And then let me go back to the Q&A section. Okay, so I talked about retreats, talked about how many students, first year students. And so there's no additional fee for the retreat. I did see a question about that. All of the activities are included, like the snacks, the monthly events like Hawks games, whitewater rafting, the bike tour. All of these things are included once you pay the semester, the $400 semester student activity fee. All of it's included. And even things like I mentioned, things that you all want to do for each other or plan for your peers, an intramural team, going to the theater together, a birthday party committee, all of that is also covered with your fees. You work with myself or Bryn, we give you a budget, and you get to plan an event for your peers. So great questions. And someone wrote a question about charitable initiatives or projects. So we aim to do one service project every semester. That might have been a question for Dr. Gleason as far as the class project. I'm not quite following the chain of where that question came from. Someone also asked, do you recommend living in Matheson Perry? I'm going to let Kristen and Brandon answer that.
Yeah, so I would say it's cool. Yeah, like it's pretty cool. Definitely the lounges are like the highlight of the building.
I don't remember. I lived there so long ago, it feels like. I would recommend first floor because I'm loyal because I lived on the first floor of Harry. So it was a great experience. I have to second, the lounges were a lot of fun. Definitely spent late nights studying, but we were really just screaming at each other and drawing on the whiteboards because we couldn't figure out integral calculus. But definitely a good time, and especially since we're all so close, it's awesome. And then I did see a question in the chat, how many floors are there? So I believe there are 4 floors of both buildings. 4 floors of both buildings.
But global leadership only occupies the first 2 right now.
Yes.
Yes.
And then global leadership, we are the only people who have access to those lounges pictured in the presentation. So we get them for ourselves. So, and of course, there are lounges on the upper floors, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th that you will also have access to, being a general Georgia Tech resident.
Yes. And so the fee to join the Living Learning community. So once you're in global leadership, your fees are specifically for global leadership activities. So the first year Living Learning communities, we absolutely collaborate and try to plan events at least once per semester, where we incorporate all of the first year Living Learning communities across Georgia Tech's campus. So we did a tailgate before a Thursday night home football game where we offered, or was it an away game? No, it was a home game. So we did a tailgate where we had barbecue and cornhole and games. And so, yeah, we collaborate with the other LLCs, but your fees go specifically to the Living Learning community that you participate with and the events that we plan for you. Great questions. I say that a lot because really they are great questions. So I think I handled all of the Q&A. I have not looked at the chat yet to see if what I've missed out of that, so I can scroll the chat and see what I've missed.
We've had a few questions come in on the Q&A, Sarah.
Okay.
So one question is, are boys and girls split into the 2 different residence halls or by floors, or are they completely co-ed?
Great question. So they are split by floor. So Mathis and Perry is connected with the lounges and the kitchens in the middle, but there will be a male floor and a female floor. And Georgia Tech Housing offers gender inclusive housing, and there is a process for that, and you can live with other students who have selected gender inclusive housing. But in general, the floors are separated by male side and female side. So I hope that covered that question. Thank you, Ashley, for drawing my attention to that.
And then we have another question. Are students grouped according to SDGs of interest, or are students given general course workloads and then broken into groups? And so that's a Kristen question there.
Wait, what's the question?
Are students grouped according to SDGs of interest, or are students given general course workloads and then broken into groups? So what was your experience this year, Kristen?
Oh, yeah. So during class, we were like grouped together based on like the SDG we wanted to explore. And it was like, yeah, like usually like maybe 4 to 5 people in a group.
And I think Dr. Gleason is going to be kind of seeing, he got some student feedback, and he's going to be evaluating if that worked, if we're going to try rotating teams this year, different opportunities to work with students based on SDG or whatnot. But as far as outside the classroom with any of the activities you want to plan for each other, that's not grouped by anything except your choice. But yeah, in class, last year they did group by SDG theme that they wanted to work on.
And then we have a few questions in here. So like, if a student receives an invitation, do they still have to apply? And I believe the answer is that they just have to accept the invitation.
Correct. Yes.
And you can only accept one invitation. You may get multiple invitations from different living learning communities, but if you want to be part of the best one, our one, then you accept the one to global leadership.
Exactly. Yes. And then I'm trying to scroll and see what else I've missed. If we've missed your question, if it hasn't been answered by Brandon or Ashley or Kristen in the chat, if you want to resend it to us, please feel free. I know everyone's working hard to get your questions answered.
There's also a question about what are the most popular LLCs, and of course, global leadership is at the top of it. I mean, you're here at the best session for a reason. And there are some other living learning communities. There's like 4 of them. Sarah can talk about those if she'd like.
So I am great friends with the other program advisors and coordinators for the other LLCs. So we have Explore LLC. They are heavily focused on College of Science students. That's kind of all I know about Explore. The honors program offers challenging classes and research opportunities and stuff like that. Now, I will say there's some confusion sometimes, like, oh, the honors program has the best of the best, or the only honors students at Georgia Tech. Everyone at Georgia Tech is an honors student. You all have immaculate scores and GPAs. Everyone is an honors student. The honors LLC just has these more rigorous, challenging, and smaller class sizes for some of their classes. And then the Grand Challenges LLC does similar work to what Global Leadership does as far as solving a challenge, a global problem, or solving a challenge. The Grand Challenges LLC does have a fall and spring LLC specific class. I didn't actually explain what the spring GL class is. So the spring GL class is a globally or sustainably focused class that is either English or health or a humanities. So it's something that fits into the rest of your academic degree plan and covers one of those core general education classes. So like I mentioned, a health class, an English class, a humanities class, or a social science class. We will pick roughly 10 to 15 classes that you all can choose from. So the point is that you're still taking classes with your peers and having a small living learning community within that English class or within that health class. So I hope that helps make sense what the spring global leadership class is. And I also hope I somewhat describe the other LLCs well.
I have a couple of questions for students, and that's Brandon and Kristen. So when will they be notified to join different clubs at Georgia Tech? And I believe that's during week of welcome / the first couple of weeks. And what clubs are y'all involved in?
Oh, so I'm involved in animation club, the minorities at the College of Computing, Pride Alliance, and I've also made my own club, writing club at GT. So yeah, you can probably expect us to see us at a table at the week of welcome, if I can get that worked out.
Funny story about the organizations I'm in. None of them are technically clubs or student orgs, just the way I played my cards. So it's just a weird technicality that I like to say for some reason. So I'm part of Professional Greek Life as well as Hispanic Recruitment Team. We're all working on Hispanic Reach Out to local high schools as well as our local communities of members. Of course, I'm also a student assistant for Global Leadership as well as for the Office of International Education. I've worked for them for going on to 2 years now, so very knowledgeable in that. I'm also a Georgia Tech tour guide as well. So I do know a lot about Georgia Tech and do enjoy those. And Georgia Tech tour guides as well as being a student assistant both count as on-campus jobs as well. If anyone likes to ask questions about those, as I have 2 of them.
I have a follow-up question, kind of shifting gears just a little bit. So I think there is some anxiety maybe about like being engineering or pre-med or something like that, and like balancing global leadership. So how's the workload balance participating in global leadership and being, engineering or something else? And maybe make sure and share your majors.
You want to start us off, Kristen, or
Yes.
I can as well?
Huh?
Oh, do you want to start us off, or I can answer the question first? Up to you.
What was the question again?
Sorry, it is how is the workload balance participating in global leadership and being an engineering major?
Oh, okay. So I am not an engineering major, so that is something. So, but I do like some computer science, and I would say that the workload isn't like that as bad as you as you expect it to be, pretty much. Like it was still pretty like manageable for the most part, because I feel like the most time you'll commit like outside of class is just like to work on the projects and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about like the workload.
Um, I definitely agree with Kristen, and then being, of course, gone for my second and third years, it's very helpful to know other people in your major, especially when you have, of course, being global leadership. I study with a lot of global leadership chemical engineers I've met, and so I know them before, and I worked with them on the global leadership project, so a little bit of teamwork beforehand, getting to know how each other's works, and then going into your upper level classes, I must say, are more difficult than your first year classes. I'm experiencing that right now, but definitely helpful to, of course, get to know people. And then for me, the balance as a chemical engineer in global leadership never felt like a class or something I had to do. I was always excited to go to events. It was always an excuse to go hang out with friends, study break. And so it was definitely something I was looking forward to. So I wouldn't say I was quote unquote balancing it. I was actually looking forward to doing global leadership events.
Awesome. And how would you describe like your balance? Like, were you able to like rush or do other student organizations and stuff like that? And do global leadership, like, did you feel like it was too much?
Not at all, actually. It's funny enough because there was like another student who emailed me about this the other day. So definitely I would say it's pretty doable to be in GL and also to be in other organizations on campus, as long as you're not like the type of person as long as you're not like doing like, I don't know, 10 organizations or something like that on campus, like your first semester, then yeah, I believe you will have like room in your schedule to be a part of clubs and in GL.
Oh, awesome. Sorry, I just brain freeze. Definitely. I would say my first year is not the typical experience, as I had all virtual classes, due to COVID. However, a piece of advice I was given and I did take was when planning out your schedules, do try to reduce your I was very ambitious and I want to take all these credit hours, and I was recommended to take one less class, as A, you'll have time for it, and B, you want to use that time to get adjusted to college, as well as socialize, have a little bit of fun, join clubs. So I did take my piece of advice and had a little bit of a lighter course load coming in my first semester, and that definitely allowed me to get in a routine of extracurriculars and really be able to explore everything Georgia Tech has to offer. So when I picked back up in my second semester, I definitely did not feel that I was behind. I was actually ahead and already had routines set. So it was quite easy for me to add up one or two more classes and still be able to manage clubs. And of course, joining clubs earlier means if you want to do leadership, you're already taking a step in the right direction.
And Brandon, just making sure, because you are a tour guide and have also done Facet and helped us with Facet. Is Facet mandatory to attend? I think it may be, but can you share your experience with Facet and what kind of it's important?
Yes, so definitely. So unfortunately, I did Facet virtually as we cannot do it in person. However, I did. I believe it is definitely mandatory, and it's very helpful for you to go. It can be quite stressful to register if you want to do it by yourself. And everyone on the Facet team, I know I have a couple good friends who have run Facet over the years, and they say it's definitely helpful, especially going in person, to be able to talk about your classes, really sit down and work through it. So I would say Facet, I'm pretty sure Facet is mandatory, and it's mandatory for a reason. So you get to save a lot of stress, stressing out, because you're going to be handling it with upperclassmen who have been in your seat before and have been even then, and then also been trained on registration. So they're the experts and they will help you out, and definitely saved me a lot of stress when I did my Facet, even though it was virtual. Definitely saved me a lot of stress.
And Kristen, do you want to share your point of view, since you also just recently went through Facet? And you may need to unmute.
Yeah, so I went to Facet in person, and I kind of will say this: it's more worthwhile if you go in person compared to if you do it online. But I mean, if you have to do it online, then yeah, that's what it is. But if you are able to go in person, definitely try to go in person, because you will be able to get like a better feel of like the campus, especially if you haven't really like had the chance to go to visit campus prior to Facet. Also, you get like some free stuff while you're there too. Like you get like a free t-shirt and like pen and a bag and all that. So also you also get free lunch. I mean, yeah. I would
We love free food.
yeah. And so you get to talk to your advisor, and yeah, your advisor is the person you contact in case you need like registration questions and all that. But yeah, I would say I had a cool experience with Facet.
Thanks, Kristen. I wanted to address one thing out loud. If you join an LLC and then end up withdrawing from the LLC in the before the semester starts, you don't get charged the fee. So yeah, and then I think I saw someone else earlier ask, can you switch LLCs? You can, but the sooner the better. Again, as spots get taken, you'll want to join the LLC of your choice as soon as you can. And also just for roommate picking situations, if you're changing at the last minute, someone that you know or like, they might already have a roommate assigned to them, and then that would be a domino effect to move things around, and possibly not possible sometimes. So the sooner you can make your decision about the LLC that's best suited for you would be best. And then also, as far as withdrawing from the LLC, if you do withdraw from the LLC, then you cannot live in our rooms, in our residence halls. So it would also affect your housing. So if you sign up for Global Leadership and then change, and you've already picked your room and your roommate in Mathis and Perry, you would have to work with housing and find a new housing situation. So just to let you know.
There's
Ashley, go ahead.
one question here. So in order to respond to the invitation for Global Leadership, do I need to complete the fall housing contract? I believe that you do. Like, it's one of those things, like you should do all of it kind of at once. Sarah, what are your thoughts?
So it's interesting. We're not housing, but we work with housing, right? Like the Global Leadership, we don't run housing, but I believe you accept in your admissions portal first the offer, but at the same time, you should complete your housing application and have a completed housing application before you can pick your room and your roommate. So yes, they should be done simultaneously. If you've deposited, committed to tech, go ahead and accept your application or your invitation to join the living learning community of your choice, Global Leadership, and then finish your housing application. Whatever spot you are on your housing application, that also lets you pick your room according to your place on your housing application, your time and dates, your date and time stamp. You pick your room. Even within Global Leadership halls, you get, I guess, priority or preference in the Global Leadership hall to pick the room of your choice. So if you want to be right next to the bathroom, or if you want to be at the very end of the hall, farthest from the entry doors, you get to pick based on the date and timestamp of your housing application. So, but do double check all of these things by housing as well. And housing does webinars a couple times a month also. So we've got a couple of minutes left. Yes, we can go look for an old recording from the housing webinars. Give me 1 second. I think I know where they are. I just found our old global leadership webinar earlier. Housing. Okay. So I will say this video that they have looks a little old, but I'm going to send you the one that I found. I'm also going to post a link to recorded webinars right there. And I'm going to keep searching for 1 more second for an updated housing webinar. Looks like we've got some students that know each other in the chat. Awesome. Love seeing the connections forming already. We hope that we answered everyone's questions. Please connect with us on social media. You've got our email address. I think Brandon provided his. I don't know if Kristen did. No pressure, Kristen. You don't have to. But if you want to, you can. You do not have to. Okay, both of our students did. Thank you both very much. Please let us know if you all need anything else. Is there any last minute questions before we sign off today? Yes, Ashley, go ahead.
I would just say there was one other question, says, do I only get to choose from one GL, LLC, or FYSA? And the answer is yes, you only get to choose one. So first year semester abroad is the entire first year, and that coincides with the Global Leadership Living Learning Community. So you would either do FYSA, or you would do Global Leadership, or you do one of those other LLCs, but you should do Global Leadership. I'm not biased.
And we love the first year semester abroad program. We do. So this is a tough question for us to answer. But yes, it is one or the other. So great programs, but we like ours. Hi, Ashley's cat. So I hope we have answered all of your questions today. You all have been such great participants, and we hope to see you in the fall, and we hope that you come to Tech, and we're just so excited for you and all of your upcoming opportunities. And we hope you have a restful summer, or do Ignite students. We have plenty of global leadership students who meet in Ignite and Challenge and then come live in global leadership together. All right, it looks like we're winding down. I don't see any new questions popping in the chat. So one more time, our contact information is on the screen, and thank you all so much for your time. Hope you all have a great night. Ashley, are we good? Do we catch everybody?
I think we got all the questions in the Q&A and everything. Thank you all so much. This is my cat, Minion. He says hi, and I'll send you pictures of him if you come to Global Leadership.
Thanks, thank you, Kristen and Brandon, for your time. And Bryn, excellent slide navigation. Thank you for running the show.
No problem. Happy to.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Have a great one. Go Jackets.